My parents sent a group message. We think it's best you step away for now. My aunt reacted with a thumbs up. I just stared at the screen. No call, no explanation. Just a digital exile delivered like an afterthought, so I wrote back. Understood. I'll respect that and step away from the family fund too. That night, I logged into the joint account I'd silently maintained for the past 5 years. The one that paid for my mom's insulin, my dad's mortgage gap, and my sister's car repairs when her checks got delayed. I didn't just stop contributions. I closed the whole thing. At exactly 3:11 a.m., my phone started buzzing. By sunrise, 89 missed calls, voicemails from my dad, text from my sister, sobbing. The last voicemail, my dad's voice trembling, the bank flagged everything. What did you do? I simply replied, I'm honoring your decision. They had no idea how much I'd been holding together. To really understand why that message shattered me, you'd have to go back to my sister's second hospitalization. My dad called me crying from a Walgreens parking lot. They won't admit her without insurance. We're out of options. I drained my savings that night to cover it. No one reimbursed me. No one even asked if I was okay. Then came Mom's diagnosis. Dad's hours got cut. My sister kept spiraling, and I just kept giving. Eventually, I built the family fund in my name by money, quietly fixing everything while they called me the responsible one. They meant the convenient one. I skipped vacations, ate oatmeal for dinner, downgraded my apartment just to cover their chaos. And when I finally said no, when I told them I wouldn't pay for a $3 $200 yoga retreat, my sister said I was judging her recovery. Days later came that message. We think it's best if you step away. They thought they were cutting me off, but really they were cutting the cord that powered their lives. Within 36 hours, overdraft notices, calls from Mom's pharmacy, screaming voicemails from my sister, a Zoom call with their faces lined up like a jury. I stayed calm. I told them, you didn't just exile me, you severed your lifeline. Then I shared my screen, a spreadsheet, every dollar, every invoice. Every time I cleaned up after them, silence. Then came the gaslighting. You kept tabs on us. You're bitter. You think money is all that matters? No, I thought family did until they showed me otherwise. Then I dropped the final bomb. Every joint authorization removed. Every autopay canceled. The family trust dissolved. I wasn't their backup plan anymore. A week later, I got a letter from the bank. Someone had tried to open a business loan in my name for $80,000. The business, a fake recovery center. The co-signers, my parents, the paperwork forged. And still, they didn't stop. Aunt tried to corner me weeks later, asked with a straight face, would you ever consider setting something up again for emergencies? I smiled. I did. It's called my future, and I walked away. They hadn't just wanted space, they wanted to quietly use my name and vanish. I filed fraud reports, police IRS bank, spent hours submitting everything, but for the first time in years, I slept through the night. Then one day, my mom showed up at my office, pale, shaking. We didn't know where else to go. I said nothing until she hissed, I gave you life. You owe us. That's when I laughed. Not loud, just tired. You gave me life. Then spent 30 years convincing me I owed you for it. I walked away. My parents sent a group message. We think it's best you step away for now. My aunt's only response was a thumbs up emoji. I stared at the screen, stunned. No phone call, no explanation. Just a cold digital exile delivered like an afterthought. I typed back simply, understood. I'll respect that, and step away from the family fund too. That night, I logged into the joint account I'd quietly maintained for 5 years. The one that funded my mother's insulin, covered my father's mortgage gaps, and paid for my sister's car repairs when her checks were delayed. I didn't just stop contributing. I closed the entire account. At exactly 3:11 a.m., my phone started buzzing uncontrollably. By sunrise, I had 89 missed calls, voicemails from my dad, tearful texts from my sister. The last voicemail, my dad's voice cracking. The bank flagged all transactions. What did you do? I replied calmly. I'm honoring your decision. They had no idea how much I'd been holding together. To truly understand why that message shattered me, You'd have to go back to my sister's second hospitalization. Dad called me from a Walgreens parking lot, crying. They won't admit her without insurance. We're out of options. I drained every dollar of my savings that night to get her the care she needed. No one thanked me. No one even asked if I was okay. And then came Mom's diagnosis. Dad's hours were cut. My sister spiraled further. I kept giving. Eventually, I became the family's lifeline, managing their bills quietly under my name, fixing their chaos while they applauded me as the responsible one, which really meant the convenient one. I skipped vacations, ate plain oatmeal for dinner, downgraded my apartment, all to keep their lives from unraveling. When I finally said no, refused to pay for a $3,200 yoga retreat my sister wanted, I was accused of judging her recovery. Days later came that message. We think it's best you step away. They thought they were cutting me off, but really they cut the cord powering their lives. Within 36 hours, overdraft notices filled their mailboxes. Mom's pharmacy called incessantly. My sister left screaming voicemails. Then a Zoom call with their accusing faces lined up like a jury. I stayed calm. You didn't just exile me, I told them. You severed your lifeline. Then I shared my screen, a detailed spreadsheet with every dollar, every invoice, every time I cleaned up after them. Silence. Then came the gaslighting. You kept tabs on us. You're bitter. You think money is all that matters? No, I thought family did, until they showed me otherwise. I dropped my final bomb, every joint authorization removed, every auto-pay canceled, the family trust dissolved. I was no longer their backup plan. A week later, a letter from the bank arrived. Someone had tried to open a business loan in my name for $80,000. The business? A fake recovery center. Co-signers? My parents? The paperwork? Forged. And still, they hadn't stopped. Weeks later, my aunt cornered me, asking with a straight face, "Would you ever consider setting something up again for emergencies?" I smiled. I did. It's called my future, I said, then walked away. They hadn't just wanted space. They wanted to quietly use my name and vanish. I filed fraud reports, police, IRS, the bank. I spent hours submitting evidence. But for the first time in years, I slept through the night. Then one day, my mom appeared at my office, pale and shaking. We didn't know where else to go, she whispered. I said nothing until she hissed, I gave you life. You owe us. That's when I laughed. Not a loud laugh, just a tired one. You gave me life, I said, then spent 30 years convincing me I owed you for it. And I walked away. Story 2. At my brother's wedding reception, the screen displayed infertile, divorced failure, high school dropout, low income, single. Laughter erupted. My brother grinned. Don't laugh too much. He might cry. My mother sipped her wine. My father and wife chuckled. Just a joke, right? I took out my phone. Begin. The room went silent. Chapter 1. Family shame on display. The ballroom was extravagantly decorated. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, a string quartet playing softly in the corner. My brother's wedding had spared no expense, funded by the family company I'd once helped build but was later quietly pushed out of. I had shown up in a modest suit, no +1, no fanfare. I wasn't here to celebrate. I was here to be polite. At least that was the plan. But then the projector screen lit up during the reception. I was sipping water when the text appeared. Infertile, divorced failure, high school dropout, low income, single. A beat of silence, then laughter. Cruel laughter. I looked up. My brother, the groom, was smirking proudly. Don't laugh too much, he said into the mic. He might cry. My mother sipped her wine calmly as if this was just another casual family dinner. My father chuckled, leaning over to whisper something to my wife. Yes, my wife, who was sitting beside him, laughing. She turned to me and said with a smirk, "Just a joke, right?" I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. Instead, I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out my phone, and quietly said, "Begin." The lights flickered, the laughter stopped, and the screen went black for a moment before a video began to play. Chapter 2. The Real Projection. The video opened with grainy hidden camera footage, time-stamped and silent at first. A lavish hotel room appeared on the screen. At first, the crowd didn't know what they were looking at. Confusion replaced the laughter. Then the faces became visible. First, my wife laughing, undressing. Then my brother. Gasp. There they were, entangled on the very bed they claimed was a setup. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. I glanced over at my father, who had turned pale. My mother dropped her wine glass, the shatter echoing through the stunned silence. The screen cut to another video, this time boardroom footage. My father and brother scheming behind closed doors, discussing how they'd pressure me into signing over my remaining shares. We'll call him infertile, broke, whatever hits hardest, my father had said. My brother had laughed. Let him be humiliated. He's never fought back before. But I did. Just not the way they expected. Back in the ballroom, my wife stood up, her voice cracking. Stop this. This isn't fair. I stepped forward calmly. You called me a joke, but tonight the truth laughs back. I looked to the event staff. Send the files. Within seconds, the same footage was emailed to every guest at the wedding, key investors in the family company and the press. My brother clutched the podium in horror. What did you do? I just told the truth, I said. And unlike you, I have receipts. Then I turned to leave, not needing to say another word. The empire they tried to build on my ashes just crumbled. Chapter 3. Aftermath. By the time I stepped outside the banquet hall, the night air was thick with murmurs and disbelief. Phones were ringing, messages were flooding in. Their perfect facade had shattered. Behind me, the once celebratory wedding reception had turned into chaos. Guests began to leave, muttering about scandal, betrayal, and unbelievable stupidity. I heard someone say, "He really destroyed them with just one video." But it wasn't just a video. It was years of patience, years of being humiliated, underestimated, and sidelined, condensed into one surgical strike of truth. The next morning, headlines were everywhere. Family business in crisis after shocking wedding revelation. CEO implicated in fraud and nepotism. Scheme. Shares plummet. Bride caught cheating with groom's brother before ceremony. The company's stock dropped 17% overnight. Investors began pulling out. Lawsuits were drafted and a whistleblower investigation was launched. Anonymously tipped off, of course. Who was the whistleblower? Me. My father tried calling me a dozen times. I never answered. My brother texted, "Please, we need to talk. Don't do this. It's gone too far." My ex-wife. She sent one message. "You ruined everything. I hope you're proud of yourself." I was. Because that wasn't even the end. That same day, I met with my attorney. The evidence I gathered didn't just expose infidelity and betrayal. It proved corporate embezzlement, insider trading, and a trail of tax evasion spanning over 7 years. My father always said, "Family comes first." So I made sure the IRS would be first in line to pay them a visit. Chapter 4. The Final Blow. 3 days later, a convoy of black SUVs and government sedans pulled up outside the glass doors of my father's corporate headquarters. Agents from the IRS, SEC, and FBI entered the building with sealed warrants. It was all over the news. Massive. Financial crimes uncovered at prominent family corporation. CEO board members under investigation after wedding. Video leak. Whistleblowers. Evidence triggers federal raid. By noon, my father had been escorted out in handcuffs, shielding his face from the cameras. My brother, pale and shaking, was led away not long after. And my now ex-wife, she resigned in disgrace from her cushy marketing director role after it was discovered she had funneled company funds into a secret joint account with my brother. But I wasn't done yet. The will. A month earlier, I had met with my grandfather's old attorney, the only person who ever saw past the mask my family wore in public. Turns out before he died, my grandfather updated the family trust. He didn't trust my father or brother, and he'd quietly named me as sole. Trustee, but only if I met specific conditions. They'll spit on you first, boy, he had warned in a private letter. But if you keep your dignity and stand your ground, the family legacy will be yours to protect and reshape. Well, I had kept my dignity. The morning after the raid, I walked into that same corporate boardroom, this time as the rightful owner of the controlling shares. Every board member rose when I entered. I looked around at their nervous faces and said calmly, "Effective immediately, this company will be restructured under ethical leadership. All those involved in fraud, nepotism, or misuse of power, you're out permanently." I then paused, looked toward the security team behind me, and pointed to 3 men seated in the corner, including the CFO, who laughed during my public shaming at the wedding. Start with them. That evening, I sat on the rooftop of my new office. A quiet, warm breeze drifted through the city. No chaos, no yelling, no more begging for respect from people who saw me as disposable. Just peace. And the knowledge that without raising my voice, I had taken back everything they tried to destroy and more. My phone buzzed, a message from my brother. "You've won. What do you want from us now?" I stared at the screen, smiled softly, and typed, "Nothing, I already took it all. Epilogue, legacy rewritten." 6 months later, the once glorious family mansion sat silent and foreclosed, the gardens overgrown. The marble cracked, the gold-lettered family name plaque ripped off the gates. My father, serving a 12-year sentence for tax fraud and embezzlement. My brother, barred from ever leading a public company again, now working as an assistant in a small firm, ironically answering to someone half his age. And my ex-wife, she tried to sue for emotional distress. The court laughed her out. Now she works as a sales associate at a luxury store where she once shopped like royalty, wearing a fake smile and discount shoes. But me, I rebuilt the company, not just financially but morally. I offered scholarships under my name, created job programs for veterans and underprivileged youth, replaced corruption with compassion. At our annual charity gala, this time hosted by me, not in my brother's shadow, a reporter asked, "What would you say to those who once mocked you publicly?" I paused, looked at the cameras, and simply said, "Thank you. Without that humiliation, I wouldn't be here today. They gave me the fire I needed." Then I raised my glass toward the crowd and finished. To every failure they laughed at. To every quiet soul who's underestimated. You don't need revenge through rage. Dignity and silence make the loudest noise. The audience applauded, and I felt something I'd never truly felt around my family. Pride. Not because I destroyed them, but because I became everything they said I'd never be, and more. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you have think about this story in the comments below. Like the story. If you think this story is justified, share it with someone who needs this energy. And subscribe to Lauren's story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.